I believe that this is show 35, 34. I know that producer Stanton will post the number, or probably Hector Baez will. But here's the thing that's crazy to me is that oh, I don't want to. It's funny because I never hide my Diet Coke. But I don't like people to know I use bottled water. There's something about that that seems so prissy. So I don't even know how many shows this is at this point. And I lost track. I know it's in the 30 somethings because my mind was blown when I realized I have hit show 280. I had to do math. Show 35. Thank you, producer Stanton. That's 35 of 52. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot of shows, and my mind is a little bit blown that I said I was going to do 40 330s. Hey, Liz. And this is going to be a little bit of an informal one. I might say hi to some people in the chat, not everybody, but it's the first show. Yay, your first stream. Somebody just said it was their first stream to be gentle. I love that. So I've done 280 330s. I have missed 3 in 280 days for minor surgery, by the way. I have a very good reason. I was on the D rugs. And 330, it's like, I'm like the Rain Man. I'm like, today I was in my car driving, and my mother and I got to the parking lot, and it was 3:36 because I wasn't able to turn the car, I can't while I'm driving, turn it around and set Facebook if I'm driving in LA traffic. And hey, Joni, so nice to see everybody. A lot of the 330s have joined us. So I mean, there was like a thing. We were just about to get out of the car, and I'm like, wait, it's 3:30. I was late. It was 3:36. I was like Wapner, like Judge Wapner, like Wapner's on, in the Rain Man. And I know I'm aging myself because I don't even know how many people remember the Rain Man. But for the record, that was the movie they chose to give Dustin Hoffman the Oscar, The Rain Man, not The Graduate. He was a little bit young. The Academy wasn't going to give a man in his 20s. But, they waited and waited and waited, and then they gave him the Oscar for The Rain Man. And The Rain Man was a good performance. But Benjamin, you go back and you watch The Graduate, and he got rooked. That was supposed to be his Oscar. You can't ask for a better performance than Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate. But I digress. What I was saying is that I have a thing inside of me now, like people on the spectrum, that says, it's 3:30, it's 3:30, it's 3:30. And I was only going to do 40 shows because I said, well, it's kind of biblical. Like there's something invisible, this invisible flood, like Noah in the ark. So 7 times that later, it's grown into something beautiful. And this continues to grow. We're at almost 4,700 subscribers. And I'm going to tell you right now, because I figure you'll go out and encourage your friends. When I get to 5,000 subscribers, the Saturday after 5,000, I will wear some kind of crazy Varga girl lingerie. Like I will literally do the show in some kind of 1940s pinup nightgown or something salacious. I'm not going to do it in a bikini because I'm seated and nobody looks good seated in a swimsuit. But I'll make it worth your while. I'll jack up the girls, whatever. But the long and the short of it is that I am monumentally grateful that a few things have occurred that I want to share with you. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to do the full hour because Thursday night, New Year's Eve, I did 2 Zoom shows. One was heartfelt and philosophical and decent and only slightly racy. That was the 6 o'clock show. The other one was not. The other one was 8 o'clock, stand up, behind a mic, all kinds of language and stories. I might do a slightly sanitized version of a few of the bits here that I think you'll like. So Thursday, we drove down to San Diego. We were using a very large home that belongs to my friend Jacques Jones, who's a former Major League Baseball player and has a foundation in San Diego. And we set up all kinds of equipment and we did 2 Zooms, and I commuted down and back in the same night. And driving to San Diego down and back in the same day is a thing. You know, you do it within a pretty short amount time span. So I'm not making excuses. I'm merely saying that this is the first Saturday of the year, and I'm mostly here to make you laugh, make you feel good about what has happened, but more importantly, about what is going to happen, and to give you a little bit of a rehash of Thursday for those of you who were not on the Zoom. And I presume it's most of you because there's usually more here than there. And then wish you well and kick off the year and give you some suggestions. And it might be a little willy-nilly. It might be a mix. It may not be that I do it all, you know, in that order that I just told you. That wasn't a table of contents. I was just letting you know what was coming. So before I go anywhere, I always kind of wanted, I'm just going to say it. I don't care. In 2021, we're going next level. And it felt different yesterday when you know how usually New Year's is New Year's, and then it's like, and then it's the next day and January 1, and you're like, la, 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 la. Like, it doesn't feel that different. I'm not going to lie to you. I felt monumentally different yesterday. And maybe because I just wanted to have a different number. Maybe because of all that pressure of this is 2020. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's done. It's finished. It's 2021. New number, new vibe, new energy. 2021. It just felt good. You know, I felt great yesterday. I felt tippy. And I'm excited about this year. And there's already been good harbingers. Oh, Richard said they were both awesome shows. Thank you, Richard. But you would agree that they were very different. Like the first one, I cried a little bit. I was talking about all the things I'm grateful for. The second one, I think the audience was crying a little bit and probably peeing a little bit too, but that's okay. That's like money to a comedian when the audience is like, stop it, I'm wetting my pants. I'm like, that's just, really? You're telling me to stop it, that you're wetting your pants? I'm just going to double down. I'm going to get crazier. So Thursday night, the first show, I talked about, you know, how I pray, you know, that's how I come up with content. I just go like, dear God, what am I going to say to these people that have bought tickets, you know, riddled with self-doubt that I could deliver the right message. And then I was just noodling around the internet looking for good stories like I do, because I wasn't going to do like a wrap up of the year. I wanted an analogy. I wanted a metaphor. I wanted something special. So I'm going to paraphrase it and shorten it because I don't want to sound like Wikipedia. You guys can go Wikipedia it yourself. So here's the funny part, that you make all kinds of assumptions about things until you know better. So first of all, I assumed that this individual was probably African American, and I assumed he was probably younger, and I assumed that the opportunity came from potentially, because I haven't seen the show. I'm doing it backwards on purpose. This is a little bit of a Paul Harvey-esque story. And everybody's talking about the Queen's Gambit. Everybody, all of my friends, like, have you seen it? It's amazing. People are texting me. Evidently, they think it's my kind of show. But there was a story yesterday about how the Queen's Gambit and Tiger King, which is right place, right time, you know, right at the beginning of the pandemic when everybody was feeling a little crazy. So we wanted to indulge ourselves and binge watch somebody crazier than us. They were saying that Witcher, Tiger King, and the Queen's Gambit were the three most downloaded, most important shows. Interestingly enough, and again, I'm paraphrasing these. You can see no notes. That's the good thing about not being in a radio studio. You can see I'm telling the truth. I'm not glancing down at a screen. No notes. The Queen's Gambit was produced by a man. And the joke of the headline of the story was the overnight success that took 30 years. The Queen's Gambit was written in the 80s. The man who bought the rights in 1993, so it really wasn't 30 years. It was 27 and change. Started out his professional life as an executive for Scotch. He is a Scottish man. He is not African American. And I thought that because in the article, they said that his previous only success had been with The Preacher's Wife with Whitney Houston. So I assumed if you saw the remake of The Preacher's Wife, it was, you know, African American centric. It was wonderful. Whitney Houston played the Preacher's Wife. but I just assumed like waiting to exhale, you know? Well, no, he's a Scottish guy. He started out as a liquor executive and businessman working for Glenlivet, single malt Scotch, and worked his way into entertainment. It's a long story. I'm paraphrasing and shrinking. But the man who is the producer of the Queen's Gambit is 80 years old. And he has been in love with this source material for he bought the rights in 93. The book came out in the 80s. He's had, I think, 9 directors attached to it. His lowest point was in 2008 when Heath Ledger had agreed to direct and be a part of it and died. And somehow he shepherded this thing because he had a vision and an obsession with the story. And I thought, if that is not the perfect metaphor, chess, it's a movie about chess. And who would have thought that a movie about a girl playing chess, an orphan girl playing chess at the highest level, would capture people's imaginations to such a degree to become Netflix's most critically acclaimed, because Tiger King is not critically acclaimed. It was just interesting, nor was Witcher. I don't even know the rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's in the 90s. Like, the Queen's Gambit is a major success, critically, financially, viewership-wise. Like, it is a massive runaway hit. And the producer has been in love with it for years. And he is 80. And he will likely accept an award. And I want to hear his award speech. I want to hear his speech. Because if you ever want to laugh or feel joy, look up Elaine Stritch, Stritch, award acceptance speech. She had a one-woman show. I believe it was on HBO, and she won an Emmy. And Elaine Stritch's Emmy acceptance speech, that you didn't even know who Elaine Stritch was, probably till now. But she was an older gal who started out on Broadway, was in movies with Marlon Brando, and she did a semi-autobiographical, I think it might have even been completely, she might not have even had Flights of Fancy, called Elaine Stritch Live at the Liberty. And it was brilliant. And in her 70s, she became, it's an amazing show, Richard Twitchell. I don't know if he's talking about Elaine or Queen's Gambit or both. But the point that I'm making is that passion and being in love with a story and being interested in shepherding something will find its way. And I know that to be true because I have done 5 shows behind a microphone. I did one on Zoom behind a mic just because. It's on my YouTube. You can look for it later. My Virgin Zoom show, where I literally just held a mic that wasn't attached to anything, just for safety, you know, just for like a pacifier. But I've only done 5 shows behind a mic since March. 4 in Colorado Springs and 1 on New Year's Eve. And my skills, I think anybody that saw Thursday night show or was in Colorado Springs can tell you, it's in my bones. It has nothing to do with how frequently I perform. This is what I do. But I can't do it right now. But my passion for you guys to connect, to entertain, to uplift, to be a part of your lives, that passion, I had to shepherd it to a new place. And one of the things that's so exciting to me is that being on YouTube isn't an also ran. It isn't a workaround. It's a whole new dimension to what I do. And it's incredibly exciting to be able to talk to people in England at 3:30 every day. One of my 3:30s, David Jonas, is in the UK. He's on every day. And, you know, talk about I told him when I go to England, you have to take me to where they film the Great British Bake Off, which I've been watching way too much of. And he was like, done. And then he sent me the link to where they film. That's the world I live in now. And it would have never happened without the pause for the cause. Not the 3:30, not the YouTube channel, not getting closer to producer Stanton, who I have a complete platonic, respectful, because I really like his wife, crush on, not Tony the sound guy. And I spent New Year's Eve with Tony the sound guy. That was my date. And I could not be happier about that. I could not be happier that the pause for the cause has forced me to find a new way to tell an incredibly fun story that's important to me, that's filled with passion. And that's the story of the human dilemma, of all. It's our story. It's not my story, and it's not necessarily just your story. It's a story that we're writing together, like if we were in a giant cosmic writing room, where we're in that situation, you know, like where you're in a submarine in an incredible drama, and they're like, "We're not going to make it. You know, the submarine's dying. You know, we've run out of energy. The hatches won't open. You know, wait, I have an idea." You know, there's always that moment where you figure out the ship's turned upside down. You know, the Poseidon adventure. Well, the thinnest point of the ship is the hull around the propeller. So let's go to the bottom of the ship to go to the top of the ship to get out. For those of you who haven't seen the Poseidon adventure, this was a funny little irony. One of the last times I was on a cruise ship, the Poseidon adventure was one of the movies that was showing on like some oldies channel that they stream on cruise ships because they don't want to pay for new material. So you watch like old seasons of old shows and old movies. And I'm like, I don't think it's very smart to show the Poseidon adventure on a cruise ship, but okay, I'm enjoying it. I see why, you know, Shelley Winters was so beloved and Jack Albertson won for Best Supporting Actor and Gene Hackman was nominated. I mean, is it a little corny? Slightly, you know, but do we love Indiana? Of course. So there you have it. So, you know, that's what COVID is to me. It's flip the script. It's the pause for the cause. It's a way to get closer. We're all still climbing up, even though we think we're upside down. We're still climbing to the thinnest point in the hole. And then we're going to drill a hole and they're going to rescue us. That's how it's going to work. So until then, I get to be Gene Hackman. What do you think of that? We'll let producer Stanton be Gene Hackman. He's got the good Gene Hackman hair. So that being said, on Thursday, part of what I talked about was, now that it's 2021, you know, things that we can leave behind. Now, I have people in my life that I love very much, and they have I'm scratching my back. It feels so good. Sorry. I totally forget that I'm like, oh, by the way, Monique, you're not alone in a radio station. You're being filmed scratching your back right now like a monkey. So, you know, there's all kinds of behaviors. And one of the things I said on Thursday night's live stream is that it's very important right now to use COVID to your advantage, the pause for the cause. And people are contrary, and people are rebellious, and people push against things. It's the nature of humans. It's how babies figure stuff out. It's how you get up the nerve to ask somebody out when your friend said, I dare you, you won't ask so-and-so to the prom. And then you do, because that's what'll make you do it. So I was jokingly saying how interesting that when they said we're on major lockdown except for demonstrations, there haven't been any demonstrations. So I said, you want to figure out how to end war? Tell every single person, okay, all right, for one day, as long as you're wearing a mask, you've washed your hands and you're wearing gloves, everybody go out in your front yard, like your neighbor that never cleans up the dog poop, like we're going to have a beat down day. You can just beat down anybody that annoys you. Hey, Dave Kraft from Birmingham. See, I'm like a kid. And then I think he was telling me that because he's from Alabama and he wanted to make sure Alabama wasn't a punchline. And maybe it might have been, so thanks for popping up. But the point is, like there will be no assault and battery. If you told everybody, you know, this is beat down Thursday, and nobody be nice and nobody hug, we swear to you, there's no assault and battery, but we will arrest you on sight for hugging, people would be rolling around in the grass, clenching each other, because it's just the nature of humans. And it hasn't been any more evident to me than now. So I've been telling people, and I said this Thursday, declare emotional bankruptcy. Just forget any slight, any insult, anything you are holding, carrying, charging interest on. Get rid of it. Just you don't have that anymore. You don't have that accounts receivables. Nobody owes you. Just allow it to just, write it off. Write it off. And I say this because I know people that unfortunately the amount of leisure time has not benefited them. This is going to sound really nasty, but it's going to give you an analogy so you'll know exactly what it is. And when you're doing it, I want it to stick in your head and I want you to say, I'm doing that thing. I call it picking spiritual scabs. Nothing has happened in months, maybe even years. But the minute you get into a conversation with them, they got to say, well, like when this is all over and we go to dinner with so-and-so, I want to make it clear who's paying the check, or I want you to sit next to me. I don't want to really sit next to so-and-so, because even though I'm willing to go to dinner with them, I mean, I still have beef with them from that time a few years ago when they did that to me. I'm like, okay, let me ask you a little something about picking scabs. Does it make you heal faster? No. Does it make you have a clean scar and the mark goes away? No. What does it do? Nothing. It feels good for the split second that you're curiously trying to figure out what's going on under the scab. And you're just drawing attention to the wounded place. And then everybody's like, oh, poor baby, look at the scab. And maybe that's one of the reasons people do it. Just to have that bit of negative attention, which is still some form of attention, until it passes. So 2021, I don't want any of y'all picking any spiritual scabs. Whatever happened, it's over. I'm not saying this about politics. I'm not saying this about socioeconomics. I'm not saying this about inconveniences people have caused you during the pause. I'm saying it about everything. Pre-pause, during pause, after pause. Let everything just heal cleanly into a little pink dot and move on. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that chat my ass, because there are. But I promise you, it's a short, it's moments. It's a second or two. And then I'm like, yeah, that upset me. That pissed me off. and then it's over. And then I'm fine. And I got to be honest with you. I think that's one of the reasons why I feel better. And I feel when I look in the mirror, when I was younger and people would tell me that I was attractive or any nice thing anybody said about me, I was always grateful. But there was a little part of me that didn't internalize it. I didn't own it. I actually didn't take compliments well. Even if it appeared that I did, I really kind of didn't. And now when people say, you look lovely, or, you look better than last time I saw you, I take the compliment, I internalize it, I own it, I smear it all over me like Nutella. That felt good. Thank you for saying that. Ooh. But part of it is because I really understand that scars really do fade. And when you stop picking them and thinking about them, then before you know it, you're all smooth and shiny and glowy. You're glowing with forgiveness and happiness and looking forward. Because I know that a lot of people are going through tough times. I'm not stupid. Trust me. I'm incredibly grateful that for the most part I live alone and my dog thinks I hung the moon. But not everybody has that. I have friends that have kids that are in their teens that are totally stressed out because they can't leave the house. And the kids are in a bad mood and it puts the parents in the mad mood. And now they're like, you're incredibly ungrateful. If COVID would have happened when I was a teenager, we didn't have Wi-Fi. We weren't homeschooled. We'd just be like mute dumbasses, whatever. I know that people are getting, cabin fever. I know that people are questioning their choices. I know that relationships are hitting the rocks. I know it. People call me, people email me. They let me know, like, what should I? I got an email Thursday, New Year's Eve, while we were setting up the cameras. I got an email from a very nice young man saying, I just found you on Not Skinny Not Blonde. And then he went on, he paid me a bunch of compliments. And then paragraph 2, do women know when they're being bitches? I mean, he was just asking me advice and questions like I was Dear Abby. And I literally said to him, typed him right back, and I said, it is New Year's Eve. I am preparing for a Zoom show. I promise you I'm going to noodle on this and give you a proper answer. Stand by. Stay tuned. Because I believe the answer is yes. But it's not that simple. I believe everybody knows when they're being a pain in the ass. They just can't help themselves. In that moment, you want that parting shot. I call it Columboing people. You're 3 minutes from a clean effing getaway, and the person has to turn and go, oh, by the way, if you could, or Deborah Richter's got like a face full of laughs. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know Columbo, Peter Falk played an amazing, frumpy, disheveled detective in a trench coat. And the whole thing was made even more engaging by the fact that Peter Falk had a glass eye. It had nothing to do with him being Columbo. He had a glass eye before he ever made the show, right? Him and Sammy Davis. And Peter Falk, when he would look right at the guilty person, it was always wonky because of the glass eye, which made it even more unnerving. But he would ask questions and he looked all disheveled and like he didn't know what the heck was going on. And right before he was about to walk out of the driveway, knowing full well that that was the car with the bloodstain in the trunk, like right before, like you were seconds from a clean getaway, he would turn and ask that question that was just going to set the guy off. He would either confess or go bananas. Thank you, producer Stanton, for posting Columbo. And we all know when we can't control ourselves, you're seconds away from a night that's fight-free and quiet and kind of peaceful. But you've just got to Columbo your mate because you've had it. Or whoever, somebody in your home, whatever. We're not going to do that. We're not going to Columbo people in 2021. If you've got an issue and it's legit, then before you get bananas, do yourself and the other person a favor and just say, hey, can I just tell you something that's, created some consternation or discomfort or whatever word you want to use. If there's anything I want to impart on you guys, if I could share any superpower with any of you, it would be that I am an incredibly linear communicator. I don't do hints. I don't do cynicism. I don't do sarcasm. I don't do passive aggressive. And I act like it's like a dog whistle. When people are sarcastic with me, I just stare at them. And then they go, I was being sarcastic. And then I go, I don't do sarcasm. And they look at me like, what do you mean you don't do sarcasm? I'm like, I don't do it. You just spoke a little bit of a language I don't know. I don't know that language. Why don't you just tell me? What do you want? What do you want? I know what I want. I want to keep doing this. And I know that my life is not ever going to go back to normal because things don't go back. They just don't, boys and girls. They go forward. I don't know if and when we won't wear masks, if and when we'll get vaccinated, if and when restaurants will be full to capacity or we'll go to concerts or you'll stand in a line where you're right up on top of the other person. I can't answer that. It may be a long while. I remember a time when you could go to the gate to greet somebody at the airport and you'd be all dressed up with a gift in your hand that was wrapped or flowers or something. Different world. I don't know what's ahead, but whatever it is, it will continue to incorporate this new wonderful thing that the Pause for the Cause kicked me in the butt and made me do. And now I love it and I won't stop doing it and I'm going to do it more and in better ways. I was going to try a simulcast tonight and I will be simulcasting on YouTube and Facebook Live, and then even on Insta. I'll do a whole other thing for my Insta audience. But I was a little bit tired tonight. I'm actually not going to lie to you. I'm kind of a lot tired. And producer Stanton's a little jet lagged and tired as well. And for those of you who have the time and the inclination, if you could just pop in the chat and give him your condolences. He had somebody, he was very close to him, not COVID related, just elderly who's been struggling with illness for a while. I hope he's not offended that I've said this, but producer Stanton is, you know, so important to me, and he lost somebody that was so important to him, and he managed to make it back, and he's very tired, and he still did tonight's show. So, you know, just give him a ton of love, because if I had to run this by myself, I could do it, but you wouldn't get the picture of Columbo, and I'd probably sound like I was underwater, or at the very least taking a giant rip off a bong. So thank you, producer Stanton. So some of the things that I talked about Thursday in the stand-up show, I'll give you a little bit of funny and then we'll stick the landing, is that I talked about how, in a weird way, everything is an answer to a prayer. And the key to life is to figure out what you prayed. See, when you flip the script, then all of a sudden, everything makes sense. So I thought of some funny prayers. And one of the things I'm grateful for is that the Pause for the Cause has stopped hookup culture. Like, it's just done. Like, there's no, I'm sure there's a little bit of Tinder and a little bit of Grindr, because people are people, but it's really just hit the pause button on hookup culture. And I'm not a fan of hookup culture. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's this whole facile, mostly Gen Z, but let's face it, there's been loosey-goosey people since the beginning of time. And, you know, this whole sort of culture of, you know, hey, I'm going to swipe left. And the funny thing is that I used to have a joke 20 years ago, longer, where I said, you know, women walk through the world saying, like, is she prettier than me? Is she prettier than, like, this is the way people walk through the world, you know? And I would say that men walk through the world basically looking at women. I said how sad it is that women look at women and men look at women. And we do it comparing. I say we, I don't, but a lot of people do. And I said men would walk through the world, doable, not doable, doable, not doable. She's probably stupid, but I'd still do her, doable, not doable. And now there's an app, doable, not doable. I mean, that's what it actually is. It's been, I didn't manifest it, but it happened. For the record, I've never been on a dating app in my life. Not interested. I figure you just meet people organically. I used to say the old-fashioned way at work while you're married, but that's not funny. And plus, nobody goes to work anyway. So the point I'm making is that I have two nieces, and they're on Instagram, and they're, you know, now 17 and 19, and they're the light of my eyes, and I grill them and I spy on them. And I kind of like that they can't go anywhere. I jokingly say that I have like three, I say jokingly, that I have three alter egos on internet, on social media, that they think I'm a light-skinned brother with blue eyes from Oakland, you know, when I'm really me. And I got the idea from the world's hottest felon, Jeremy Meeks. He actually got out of jail for being hot. His mugshot went viral and they let him loose. But my nieces didn't see the news story, so they don't know that it's cut and paste. But look it up, Jeremy Meeks, hottest felon. And, you know, and I do spy on them. And they don't know that I do. And they don't watch this broadcast, so they still don't know that I spy on them. But I'm delighted. I said, like, this is a very bad year for skanks. Every single person has been in a bar, dancing, having fun, when you just got that one drunk chick that just keeps rubbing her butt on everybody. Like, what has that poor girl been doing for the last 9 months? You know, like, and then I think about binge watching. I did a whole bit out, you know, can you binge watch porn? Like, is it like when people play too much, you know, like when it comes out, what's that game? World of Warcraft or something. I don't know anything about video games. I know that producer Stanton can help me out. But they've actually found people dead. Like, they drank Red Bull and played, you know, these games until they died. And I'm like, they're going to find people that binge watch porn. They were like, well, you know, all I know is that he went into the den with a bag of Cheetos and a thumb drive, and we found him naked, dead, with an orange penis. Get it? Cheetos. World of Warcraft. Thank you, producer Stanton. And I was just, talking about how it's like there's all kinds of behaviors that are incredibly annoying that are just done now. Like you just can't do them, you know? And oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, producer Stanton, for letting people know that you miss your Uncle Dubby. So, you know, I'm not going to do the stand-up routine here because it's not the place and time. I'm going to do you one better. Sound guy Tony recorded the whole thing, and we're going to chop it up appropriately. There'll be a couple of little slight edits, very slight. I just want to keep it in the county line, soft R, and then we're going to post it. So whatever I don't do tonight, because it's not going to be a full show, you're going to get even more, because you're going to get what I do tonight, and then you're going to get about a 40-minute. We'll cut it into a few chunks so it's bite-sized stand-up, like legitimate stand-up show with all new material about COVID. And I think that you'll enjoy it and you'll laugh really hard. I was talking about how I never thought I'd see the day, and I do have, and I don't want to get terribly personal, but I do have people that ask me questions about being alone. They're like, you've been completely alone, for so long now. And, they make comments about, hey, you don't have a little dude, and, you're some lonely cougar in your completely isolated den. And I'm like, I have had extremely long periods of celibacy in my life. They usually start in the middle of my marriage and go to the end. Dun-dun-dunch. See, it doesn't really work in this setting, but producer Stanton thinks that's pretty funny. But the point is that I talked about flipping the script, how, incredibly grateful I am that I'm not married to somebody that makes me mental and stuck in a house with them. I'd way rather not have them. And that, I have a dog, and my dog knows, get under the couch, mommy's been drinking. Because I actually drank. I don't drink. It's very rare. So the other night I knew I wasn't going to drink on New Year's, and I went to Trader Joe's, and they're like, would you like to try gingerbread flavored vodka? And I was like, did I say that in my own head? Was that a dream? Because I've been watching the Great British Bake Off, and all they talk about is gingerbread and ginger snaps and ginger. And I was thinking, now I'm craving gingerbread. And then I walk into Trader Joe's and they have gingerbread flavored vodka. Are you kidding me? So I was like, yes, I would like to try that. So on Wednesday, the 30th, watching the Great British Bake Off with my mother, who drank some too, and my dog, I had a pretty nice little drink there of ginger vodka, and I was loopy. I was like those birds that eat the fermented fruit and fall off the wires. I just get giggly, and my dog knew, get out of the way. Is my dog a he or a she? My dog is a she. Her name is Nola, after New Orleans, Louisiana. She's my baby. I rescued her the day after Christmas, 2015. So we've been together 5 years. So, we talked a little bit about what I don't want to bring into 2021. I'm going to reiterate. We're going to, no picking of spiritual scabs. All right. Let everything heal. Declare bankruptcy. Declare emotional bankruptcy. Don't Columbo anybody. So see, that's just 3 things. All right. That's easy. It's easy. We can do this. All right. Just forgive everybody, which I say all the time anyway, but for reals, really do it. All right. Just write it off. No Columboing, and no talking about past, trespasses. And I'll tell you a funny little story, and then I'm going to stick the landing. And producer Stanton is going to play Hector Baez's last deep fake to get us out of here in the first show of 2021. And I'm going to do a show next Saturday. It'll be a regular show. And between now and then, we're going to post some stand-up. Please join me on Facebook, Monique Marvez official fan page, every day, every single day, every day at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. And I'm going to meld these 2 situations soon, because I want more better. I want more of us. And so it's funny because I got so excited talking about NOLA and going back over what so I was going to tell you a little story about my childhood, which goes full circle for me praying about what I'm going to tell you And then bam, I stumble across the story about the Queen's Gambit. So when I was a little girl, I went to Catholic school, and they would teach us prayers, but they would teach us by rote. They didn't like break down the words or tell us what the prayer meant. And I was a pretty smart kid, and I knew how to read. So I remember learning the Our Father. You know, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Like when you're in first grade, that's heavy stuff. You don't know, you know, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, which, by the way, the only prayer I ever say now, whenever I finish writing a passage in my journal, I always end it with TWBD, thy will be done. That's like my prayer. It's like, that's it. Real simple. Isn't that the most perfect prayer for the new millennium? Like a Gen Zer can do that. If you can do LMFAO, you can do TWBD, you know, that's easy. So that being said, you know, on earth as it is in heaven, give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Well, here's the funny thing. When I was a little girl, you know, early 70s, late 60s, the only time I'd ever seen the word trespass was do not trespass, or, you know, don't trespass on the on the grass. And that was all I knew. And that was the only context I knew. And since they just taught it to us by rote and they didn't break it down, I was like, what does God have to do with grass? Like, why is he that concerned if people walk on our lawns? And that's how little kids think. It was like literal, like, wow, with all of the things that God has to think about, he genuinely cares about our lawns. And now, obviously, we know all of the subtle nuances and, you know, what that means. I mean, at least I do now as a grown up. I know what that means. And it speaks to my sign off, you know, give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses. You know, forgive yourself. All of us have done dumb stuff. And 2020 was a year of just unprecedented idiocy. And in so many ways. But we all react different. And there were a lot of unprecedented unknowns and things to really menace us. I mean, I have friends that literally rented their condo in this building and moved to the woods. Like they moved, they bought a house outside of Tahoe because they're like, if this doesn't end, it's going to turn into some kind of crime-ridden zombie apocalypse of crime and flesh-eating sex maniacs or whatever. But they moved. They're living in the middle of, you know, Northern California, surrounded by trees. They probably have loaded weapons right now. But none of that happened. Yes, we have things behind us, but they're behind us. And I think the worst is behind us. I'm sure of it. We've got vaccines on the way, and we've learned how to manage ourselves. And we've gotten used to things because that's human nature. And we're going to stick the landing. And we're going to understand the nuances of trespassing. And we're not going to trespass. And we're going to forgive people that trespass on us. And that's just how we're going to roll in 2021. And I promise to be funnier. I haven't been hilarious. I have been in spurts. But that's my brand, and that's what I do. And I'll do it more. I promise. I just had to get used to this because it's different, but I'm used to it now. I'm getting used to it. And we're going to have equal parts, as I've said before, aha and haha. I'm going to find a balance. I promise you that. And I'm going to keep showing up. I promise you that too. And I'm going to thank you every opportunity I have for you keep showing up. Because I see your names, I see your comments, I read your emails, you touch me. The nice man that just said, hey, this is Dave from Birmingham. He sent me an email that put my heart through a sausage maker in the best possible way. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. How do you build muscles? You tear them down. That's what happens when you lift weights. You actually semi-injure the muscle. And then it builds back up stronger. And your heart is a muscle. And when it gets torn up, injured, it actually comes back stronger. So yes, Dave put my heart through a sausage maker with his beautiful email saying all kinds of wonderful things about, you know, my work or me making him laugh or whatever. And as much as I miss the sound of applause, you guys have found a way that I still hear it in my ears. And it's not just the tinnitus. So, you know, now I'm going to let producer Stanton take us out of here the way I always go. But you're going to have to read it on the screen. I think I'll say it out loud and then you can read it because I'm superstitious. And I feel like if I don't actually say it, it doesn't count. But then you can read it. And Hector Baez, you know, obviously deep fake courtesy of Hector Baez. And so love hard, forgive harder, and get as happy as you can, as fast as you can.
I don't think you've ever known